Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be continuing to practice pet portraits. This is going to be a really fun one, I think. Two beautiful dogs, which are both, I'm told, tripod dogs, as in they are both missing the same leg on the front. But they're gorgeous and they look happy, and apparently they like to go hiking. So I'm going to try doing a nice painting of the two of them in a forest scene, which will be a nice little change up from the snow. So if you're tired of snow, then this one will be great for you. Yeah, so I'm just going to get into it. I'm going to try a slightly different method than I've done for some of my other paintings. Usually what I do is I'll start with big shapes and then work to small details, but for this one, sort of just finding my way with portraits, I'm going to try starting with the faces first this time, and just sort of mapping out the structure and then going from some fairly small details to bigger details and then incorporating the landscape at the end. I hope that will work out. I haven't done one exactly like this before, but something that I've been finding as I've been doing the pet portraits in general is that I find it difficult at the end, once I have a lot of thick paint, to really tighten up the details and get the expressions just right. So I'm going to try doing it in the reverse order this time. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to take a couple of these brushes and just pop them into my brush cleaner for right now. They've just dried a little bit tough, and I don't want to break the bristles, so I'm just gonna let them sit for a little bit. But I've got plenty that are ready to go too. So I'm going to start out with some burnt umber and use that. It won't be my darkest tone, but it'll be close to darkest, and that's going to just help me start mapping some things out. Just grabbing a little bit of solvent with that too. Let's see, is this the brush I want to use? It's pretty good. Incorporate a little bit of alizarin as well. Okay. And I'm going to make some adjustments to the composition on this, but I'm going to just start creating these shapes. Because I'm painting kind of thin, I'll be able to make more adjustments later on. Since I'm painting on dry canvas, it's going to be a little scratchier. And I'm painting just a little bit of lavender thinner here, just again to keep the paint nice and thin. Just kind of using this to create some structure here. I think it's just my way to like to move around the painting a lot though. Let's see. Over here, gonna mix a little bit of phthalo into the umber for him. Kind of using this method to, like, as much as I'm mapping out the shadows, I'm also kind of just using it as a way to situate them on the page. Fun doing a lot of these kind of close together because it's giving me a chance to work out my process. Try different things. I like to bounce around a lot too though, but it's good to focus sometimes. In the last few days, I did a little side project that I didn't record, but maybe I'll record it at some point. I made some little stamps for cards or gifts. I was gonna make my own wrapping paper, but I kind of ran out of time for that. But that sort of carving process and just kind of trying to simplify shapes with animals was pretty satisfying. Let's see, that's about here. It's a good exercise for simplifying. Let's see. I've got some shadows. funny how just a couple shadows can start to create the whole form. Let's see. Okay. Curious to see how much of this I end up covering up, but it'll be fun. We'll find out. Let's see. And also thinking about the background as I do this. I'll bring in this little trail edge here, I think. Kind of extending this backdrop from what's in the picture. Like this tree that's dark back here. Right now I'm kind of drawing some lines that I sometimes would just keep in my head. Just to see. Might be something. Let's see. I'll stick mostly to dark colors right now. I did add a little bit of white just to get the pink in their mouths. But I think I'm not going to do too much of that. Need to bring this lower. Getting a little bit thicker with the paint now. Okay. I'm going to make a sort of alizarin and viridian dark too. Just to kind of get in some of these shadows down here. Plan to block that in a little bit more. Got your shadow too. Okay. Wash this out a little bit. I'm going to switch to a larger brush. Just do some more washes. And then probably switch to some knives. So if you've been waiting for that, it will be soon. Just grab a little bit of solvent. I'll just push this in here. This is fun. I don't normally do a bunch of things that I'm doing right now, but I think it might be kind of good. Alright. Got a little bit more dark here to get in. Brush is a nice method for filling in the weave of the canvas without using quite as much paint. I'm able to make some slightly different shapes, which is kind of neat. Alright. dashing some colors in here that I think are going to be useful. A little bit more yellow in there. Probably gonna put a little bit more on my palette. Let's start there. Kind of like this sort of washy look. Probably gonna end up covering up almost all of it. This is, in a way, it's almost like my wet layer that I'll do a lot of the time. But instead of doing it just one color, I'm gonna be doing it in a few colors. Really not like, not planning this too much. I'm just mostly trying to get the right shapes. I think it'll have a nice sort of liveliness to the background this way. Without distracting from the dogs too. Since, again, they're the main attraction. Like, you should know what your painting is about. In this case, it's about these guys. Like spending enough time working on the dark areas is how you get a lot of depth in this. So it's gonna get a little dark before it gets bright. starting to get those kind of forest colors in place now. A lot of this is going to get covered, but I'm using the background as almost an outline color too to start getting the rest of these shapes defined. They're coming along. I think we're getting there. Okay. I'm gonna try and fill in the rest of this foreground area, then I'll go back to the dogs for a little bit. Let's see for that. I'm gonna do a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of raw umber. I'm gonna paint this one really thin too. Just a little bit of white in there. It's a little bit dark. Let's get some of this yellow ochre. My palette's very messy. It needs a little scraping, but it'll work for now. It does go through a lot less paint as I'm doing brush compared to knife, so be able to get more done without putting as much on the palette. And I'll be more intentional about what I add, because I'm going to need a lot more of it once I start knifing about. A little bit of white out, a little bit. Let's see. Get this a little bit warmer here. I've got a little bit more shadow. it's nice. It's a little bit nice doing it this way because I'm kind of just making myself a map, like a rough map, and then I'm going to be pretty free to adjust things. I think I might darken all of this area here. As if the ground is kind of lowering. Might be a good spot for some foreground plants. I don't want this to be particularly distracting. I kind of just want these colors to mix and blend and settle into the background. This shadow will be a bit darker. There we go. Starting to see them. They're sort of in their place. I'll do a little bit more of a blue, a little thin. This kind of shadowed area back here. If you don't try painting a lot of different ways, then you won't know which way you like it. It's always good to see what different people do. Try something on. It's rare that I ever do anything exactly like to someone else's method, but try a little of this and a little of that. There we go. Okay. I like some of these brush marks too. Maybe I'll even leave some of them. It's one reason to try and kind of work on the whole thing at once, is it makes me more likely to have marks that make sense throughout it. cool. Okay, so this little area in here, I'm gonna fill in a little bit more. Basically, I'm trying to get to a point where I've removed all the white of the canvas, even if some of it's with thin paint, and then I'll be able to build in a bit more with the knife and really bring some vibrancy and bring attention to the right spots. They look a little crazy right now, but they're situated and they'll make sense in a minute. Should probably fill in this area here. Don't know why I left that all blank. This dark here is a little bit off still. As I'm layering this up, it's also everything's getting darker overall, so it's making it more apparent where I need to add some more paint. Try and keep these shaded areas thinner. And we will see. Okay, I'm gonna get some white paint out. In a way, not having it on my palette keeps me from being tempted to use it too early in the process. Sometimes I like having it doing like the liquid white layer to start, but I still don't, other than that, I usually won't add a lot of white until a little bit later on. White can be a tricky color because it will make your other colors look dull, so avoiding it for a while is usually good. It might be knife time. Yeah, let's try that out. So I'm gonna get the these brushes a good cleaning before I do. This one's really still stuck. With this one, this one's doing a little better. Yeah, I'm gonna let them both sit. I'm gonna use this guy. I'm gonna still be fairly detailed with this, and I think that their shapes right now will work well with some angles and some more tight lines. So let's see. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna mix up my sort of white fur color that's actually not very white. It's actually a fairly dark gray for most of it. Some of it's actually very white, but the vast majority of this is actually a pretty medium gray tone. Start working that in there. This dark on the white fur is actually going to really give this a lot of dimension. I'm noticing I've got a warmer sort of dark. I'm going to try. Burnt sienna's a little strong. Maybe to bring a little bit more blue into that too. Let's see if that's looks about right. There's this shift. It goes from cooler to sort of a warmer gray. it's very white. I'll leave it. Leave it for now. And a little bit of very white fur there. I'll leave that alone for now. Oh, there's another foot back here. Just catching some sunlight too. It's getting there. I would actually bring this ear out a little bit. Got it a little small right now. Yeah, side of the face. That's okay though. Lovely. Bring a little bit of this green in here just to start fixing that edge. It's coming along. Let's try and get this guy a little bit more mapped out too. So, let's see. There's a little bit of a light on this paw here. I feel like if you get these angles just right, you'll get the stance and sort of the overall posture, and it'll start to look like them. Get some ultramarine out here. I think the ultramarine raw umber combo is where it's at for my darkest dark on this for the most part. A little bit more burnt umber actually. Scratching in this shaded area on the tail. Kind of want that fur texture to be in there. Also, really doesn't really need that much definition to work. think the other benefit of starting with the faces and getting them kind of blocked in is it's a good activity for the beginning while I'm pretty sharp, and then being able to be a little bit more loose and expressive later on is nice. It's kind of a nice way of working. Let's see. Probably gonna take a little break soon, though. Either way. Satisfying here is doing these little wisps of white. Just trying to get the idea of the sun coming in through the fur here. I'll go over this again and clean it up a bit, but it's nice. It's nice to have it mix in a little bit and have a sort of softer look. light in this is really beautiful. Like it's got some nice strong contrast in it. Really shows off the details nicely. Okay. Or it will. Okay. Here I'm actually able to refine these darks a little bit more. Not having gone too thick initially, so it's actually giving me a little bit more control there. Like that. Okay. Gonna come in here to work on this side of this body here. It's got actually a lot of light on some pretty dark fur, so I'm gonna mix up kind of a medium gray. Start working that in here. This will be probably something I step up in a couple layers. Popping a little bit more white in here. Here, got more of that gray. Having the background kind of encroaching in here. It's nice because then I can kind of feather the fur out over it. And you lose track of the shape a little bit, but it's easy to get it back. So I don't like starting with something that's like overly outlined. I usually try to avoid that. It's tempting. I mean, it does make it feels more controlled for a little while, but then you end up getting too concerned about preserving that. So something that I feel like as I get better, I will be able to depend on that less. Let's simplify this a little bit. I like the structure of it, but I feel like it got a little too liney. So I'm just kind of flattening it and smoothing it out. I like this. I think it's starting to have a nice character to it. I'm gonna try popping a little bit of light into the background as well. See what happens. Do a little bit of cobalt of the two. That way it's not too. This kind of gives us the effect of the light coming through the trees, though, which I really like. I like this a lot, actually. Just dragging the light in on top. Just bringing it through. I think sometimes it's like, if you come up with the right way of making the right marks, it's like, it just actually turns really simple, but it creates something that just has a really great presence. I think I really like this effect here. Might even layer in a little bit more variety to the colors, but actually it's pretty simple and effective right now. Bring a little bit of light into some of the plant behind here that kind of kind of draw you in toward their eyes. Let's take get some more cad yellow. Oh, use this cadmium yellow, lemon. Want some of this. This is too intense. Yeah, that's a little too intense. Do a little cad yellow with some Viridian. Just, that is very intense on its own. Probably doesn't need to be anywhere near that bright. So get a little bit more yellow in there. I'm actually gonna pop it down a little bit with a little bit of cad red. A little more of that out too. I guess I didn't really know what I was going to use for this. I had some ideas and then I kind of know what my go-tos are. So, take this, pop that in there. Let's see. And then, actually, because I wanted this, I wanted it kind of bright but kind of dull, I guess. Actually, I don't want it distracting too much. I did want to be able to have some of these highlight colors back here. Might have been a simpler way to get to muddy green, but at that exact moment, that was the path I decided to take. Sometimes you think your highlights are a lot brighter than that was an example of I was thinking I'd do a really vibrant one, but didn't really need it. A little bit of blue in there too. Put a little bit more shape into that. I get this, I like his stance. I'm just not, it's close, it's just not quite, there's something, I think it's just not quite formed yet, which is fine. I think I probably just need to refine this edge through refining this background area a little bit. That area is actually a bit more sort of a deep purple tone almost. Take some alizarin, some of my original dark, maybe even a little bit more ultramarine. Let's see, a little more ultramarine. Try and carry certain colors across the whole backdrop. It just gives a little bit more continuity. Let's see. This sort of shadow back here. Actually, that he's got this really great puff of fur. And I don't have it in yet because I don't want to have it in yet. Scrape off some of this bark. Start laying the groundwork for it. Okay. Might switch to a little bit of a smaller knife, I think. I might even brush again for a little bit. I'm gonna do that. I just pop down my little filbert for a minute. And just refine some of these shapes a little bit. Way to keep it the paint a little bit thin here. Just preserve my ability to get some details in. You know, it's worth a try, right? I like this brush a lot because it's flat, but it's also got a fairly thick point, so I feel like it, or thin point, so I'm able to do a lot of different shapes with it. Starting to get there. I think I'll probably bring a lot more light into this with a knife after, but I like how this is blending actually. It's working pretty well. Softening some of these details right behind him. So as not to be too distracting. A little bit more sort of pink on the tongue. Now that's a bit of the mouth shape there. It is easy to get a little bit lost. His tail's over here. I can't actually tell in this photo, but I think I'm gonna just assume and put it in. It's kind of cropped on the side, but I think it's good to have. time for a break soon. I might have said that a little while ago, I'm not sure. Sometimes I just get into it and I just wanna make it all happen at once. This here. The lighting's very pretty. Almost like a little halo effect on them. So let's see. Trying to get it really, really saturated, light brown here. Burnt sienna and white is pretty close. Put a little bit of alizarin in there too. I think that's pretty nice. A little bit more white here. Might be worth letting this part dry a little bit. I don't mind the whites going on pretty thick. And I think the green is mixing it a little too much. Let's see. Get the edge of this ear here. These other toes in here. Yeah, I think just that weight. He didn't quite have the weight in his back feet somehow. I think the way that he just looked that way until I added that little hip bone. It's a very expressive face. Try and get it a little closer before I stop. I said I was going to cover that up for the original, and I definitely did. But fortunately the paint here isn't really thick, so gives me more room to make adjustments. Get a bit smile. Try and get that smile in there. I'm gonna take a little break and come back and do some more. But I like how it's going so far. I think it's got a really cool feel. So I'm optimistic. Hope you're enjoying it. Yeah, I'll be back in a minute. Alright. And I'm back. I'm just gonna keep going with this. I'm gonna start up with a little bit of knife. Probably swap back and forth between knife and brush for a little while. I like a lot of things that are going on here. I like this kind of abstracted background. It seems to still have a lot of light in it. I want to work to pull all the focus kind of toward the dogs and have the sort of right amount of detail for the background, but not really have it draw your eyes too much more than it already is. So yeah, I want to build up the paint a little bit. Right now, it's still pretty thin in most places. And maybe for the background and a lot of the surroundings, that will actually be just fine. But I wanna have a little bit more variety. I don't know. I think that's how I want to describe it, maybe. Yeah, and pull the sort of thickest paint and the shiniest paint sort of toward the foreground, so that'll be mostly in them and maybe some of this foreground area here, though. There's not a lot. I mean, there's some like sticks and leaves and things on the ground, which maybe are just a bit distracting, so I don't know. I'm not going to go too much into detail with those. Yeah, so I guess I'll just get going and see where it goes. The first thing that I want to really work into actually is just this dog in general. I feel like it's the one area that I'm not totally convinced on in terms of the placement and just some of the sort of structural things. I think I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna use a relatively small knife and just try and work out the rest of it. I just stock up a few colors too. I'm going to put out a little bit more alizarin, Viridian, because I think I'm going to use some of that for some of these darks. They have the nice feature of being transparent colors, so they maybe the Viridian, I guess, a little bit more so than the alizarin, but the other layers will kind of show through them. But it will let me build it up a bit more. Yeah. One little spot was thick here. That's fine. Alright. So, let's see. I really think that he's got kind of like a sort of V-shaped stance. And I'm just gonna gonna mix up a dark and start working into it. Yeah, and this is really giving me the opportunity to work into my sort of darkest darks on this one. It was getting yesterday just a little bit too mucky. Too many things were starting to blend into each other. So before I accidentally blended it all together, I wanted to give it a little rest. Sometimes the best thing you can do is take a little rest. You can see how much darker you can go compared to where I was at yesterday for the values. Also, it's lightened a little bit because where I had a lot of thinner mixed in with the paint, it actually dried. So it dries a little bit lighter when you have the thinner mixed in. So it's a difference of something looking wet and looking dry. So the paint that has more oil in it will sort of have that wet look even when it dries. So it's something else you can kind of play with. It's not the most obvious thing in terms of how you can control it though. It's starting to have a little bit more form, I think. Okay, that's coming together. Just picking up those darks again. I was thinking I needed to lighten the face, and I probably still do need to lighten his face a little bit, but bringing these darks back in really helped it come back too. Zoomed in on his face a little bit. Let's zoom back out. Okay. I'm gonna mix a little bit of kind of my dark that I was using yesterday, which is this ultramarine and raw umber. Just to maybe transition these a little bit. The raw umber, I think, does also dry a little bit less shiny. But yeah, putting on thick with a knife, it really does. Let's just stand out a little bit more, which is nice. It's a good reason to not rush it, you know. So sometimes you can't get all the details you want in one shot. Just taking the time to build it up, you can get a lot more out of your painting. I'm gonna make a little bit of a gray. I don't want to get too into grays, but start to put some of this fur texture in here. Yeah, like how this is starting to fill in here. It's almost, when you apply paint like this with this thickness, it almost gives it kind of a sculpture quality too. So you can work with the paint and then work with the texture at the same time. Start putting in some of these highlights here. Just kind of get the smile on. Got such a good face. Trying not to actually have my lights and darks hitting each other right now. I'll just keep it a little bit less messy. Sometimes I need all the help I can get, staying a little less messy. Looking pretty good. Try and get a little reflective light. I'm gonna come back and do that. Maybe that will be a brush. Let's see. Some of these lighter highlights here. A little bit of this fur here. Just kind of building it in. together. Thinking about this guy since I stopped working on it yesterday. Actually edited the first half of this. A lot of times I do that. I really love getting to kind of watch the replay, getting to kind of think about it at different stages. Always see something new. Sometimes it gives me ideas. Sometimes it makes me say, oh, I really should have stopped there. But mostly good thoughts. Sometimes there's things you can see on the screen that you can't see in person, and sometimes there's things in person you can't see on the screen. And I want both parts of it to be good. So it's all a project. Let's see. I'm trying to get a little bit of this sort of fluff puff on this side. He's got some really nice highlights on the edges too. Both on leashes in the picture, but I'm not gonna include the leashes. I feel like they don't add that much to the visual, so I'll just have them be them. Let's see. It's obscuring his paw here a little bit. Well, it's looking good. Need to kind of work in this area here. Get a tiny bit of alizarin, some white, just fix up the side of his tongue too. Really, once you start putting the knife details in, it really lets you get some sharp contrasts. This area here, a lot of this paw, this deep brown's gonna work really well. shape of the foot right here. Okay. Beautiful, very colorful fur. Speckles of white and black, all kinds of brown, different things going on. So interesting, all the varieties of dogs and cats, and you know, every animal is like extremely unique. In a way, almost like people are unique too, obviously, but dogs are really all over the place. I'm gonna make kind of a blue-gray here for a lot of this sort of shaded part of the tail. It's a little bit of a tricky value because it's pretty dark, but it's white fur. Just a lot of different changes going on right now. So I think that's pretty good. I think I need to darken this shadow that's coming off of him. Probably all these shadows need to be a little darker. Soften this just a little bit, just to keep them a little closer to the same language. I think. It's almost like either one could work, but since they're together, we have to pick. not softening this. Not too much. I'm gonna leave a lot of the knife texture there too, but just a little bit. Lets me kind of pull some of these fur details too. Yeah, there we go. I don't have the right look. So I'm putting the colors on my brush. I'm actually going a little stronger than I would if I was on the knife because I know it mixes in. So it's almost like I don't have to be quite as precise in a way. I'm gonna work on these shadows a bit. I'll probably come back and do a little more with these guys. I think some of that will just come from having them sort of set in their places. Yeah, let's try that. Quick little brush wash. This brush. I think I'm gonna look into getting a smaller one, even if I do a lot more detail work, which normally isn't my thing. But I'm kind of like wondering about adding just a little bit here and there. Let's see. Okay, so do some shadows. I'm gonna switch to a bigger knife too. Let's see. How about a real big one? Yeah, let's try it. Okay. Alright, I've got the alizarin Viridian combo here. Gonna mix a little bit of this burnt sienna into just to almost not dull it, but just bring it up a little bit. Just pop this in here. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. want this somewhat desaturated. I don't want it taking all the attention. I'm gonna go a little light now, though. Let's do a fresh one. And then sometimes the answer is right in the middle. Let's try that. Alright, that's pretty good. I don't know how obvious it is on camera, but it's definitely it's a lot thicker than how I started. Maybe I could have gone right for this, but I feel like maybe I gained something by holding back a little bit. Okay. Let's see. A little bit more yellow. Okay. I find these forest floor colors to be really strange to mix. There's always a lot of like, I don't know, grays and browns and yellows, and it's not a lot of color to it a lot of the time. There's a lot of variation, but at the same time it's also not. It doesn't grab attention too much. Let's try transitioning these colors around the way that I see them. Let's see here. Even go lighter. Just a little shift here and there. Burnt sienna. Mixing up a whole bunch of different colors for the ground here. I think that gives it the most, most similar look to, like lots of leaves have all been sort of walked over and sat there for a while. Leaves and pine needles, I guess. And some more light spots here. shadows are there, but we'll give it sort of three-dimensional form, and also just kind of make everything look like it's sitting in the same space. You don't quite look right. See how you know, without having to actually think about how you'd construct a painting of it. It's just something I'll just look off. To about the right spot. Just trying to put in the right textures here so that I get that feeling of the ground. I don't want it to be overly distracting, so I kind of keep going back and forth a little bit, roughing it up, and then smoothing it out. There's a right amount, and when I see it, I'll know it. Transition back here. Can use a little attention. It's just a little too harsh right now. I'm more worried about the values than the colors too. Like something goes from really dark to really light, it's gonna draw your attention, and it's also, if it's wrong, it'll just ruin the shape. It's looking pretty good now. Maybe even go put a little bit of glycerin in here. Kind of going back and forth with the amount of contrast of these sort of lower bushes back here. I want to keep the green out of the fur. Alright. It's pretty good. I'm gonna step back for a second. Give it a look from a little bit further away. It's coming along. Alright, I wanna make, let's see. It's actually pretty close, I think. There's parts of it that are just so simple, so abstract, but they're just, you step just a little bit back and it's all there. I think. Still want to simplify some of the texture, and then I want to make a couple little facial adjustments on him, I think. I think otherwise, just about there. Shockingly. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to only do some small things now. Grab one of these round brushes. I think that will work well. Just some small details. And just a little bit of thinner on that too. Let's see. Just pick up a little bit of detail right above this eye. Just trying to get the right, couple of right shapes in the right place. A lot of that's in shadow. Might even be that was it, I think. Eye socket area was just looking a little too big. A little too pronounced. These little eye details are great. I like them a lot. Just pretty thick with the white in these areas where I just want this fur to kind of fly off. If I pick up a little bit of something else, I'm just trying to wipe my brush so I don't drag it back in. think I've got it. It's easy to keep. It's always easy to keep adding things, but I think really there is perhaps no need. A little more fluff there, just a little. All right. I think we've got it. Yeah. That's good. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have a wonderful day or night or whatever you're off to next.